In recent years, I have come to speak often, and I think flippantly, of what I call the tyranny of nice. It is the way in which we are perceived and act and expect to be received as white women in America. What I have failed to do and need to do today is to be candid about the ways in which we participate as nice white women in expectation of reward and return. Perhaps it would help to start with what a quick description of what I mean by the tyranny of nice. There's no better visual this week than the image of Terry Collins and Kay Ivey in Alabama. These two white women are very nice, and they smile, and you probably would enjoy having lunch with them. These are the two women who are a legislator and governor who were instrumental in crafting the legislation that forces birth on people with uteruses. This very legislation denies access to reproductive health choices, even in cases of rape and incest. And the people who are going to be most affected by this draconian legislation are going to be the daughters and granddaughters of these two nice white women that made this legislation happen. We need to talk about what it is that allows, in fact, just captures white women in such a way that we actually cleave to the very sword that is piercing our soul. White women, we need to talk, and quickly, I think yesterday, and about the ways in which we are complicit in this system and the ways in which this system is destroying us and our daughters. I have no illusion that we can stop the storm that is currently unleashed. We can't. But we need to get clear and quickly. We need to hold hands and resist, lest we repeat this storm over and over again. So let's talk. What is it to be a nice white woman? One thing that nice white girls are taught from early on is how to defer to the men in their orbit, and in that deference, we learn a pattern of manipulation. I think it's a two sides of the same coin. We are promised that when we offer this deference, we will receive all the goods and privileges of being white in a very racist culture. If we are willing to stand by our man, which is not beside, it's a little behind, we will have a place at the table. And it is a table of incredible abundance. This plays out, it looks like the holiday dinner table, right? Where the man is at the head of the table and the woman is at the other head. Now, it's not quite equal, but kinda. And the happy children are all gathered around and grateful. Now, I don't know that it ever really happens this way, but the promise is that if we play our part, we will have this incredible gathering with abundance at the table, and we put up the pictures all around the house to witness to this myth that we serve. Importantly, we learn to get our own needs met by stroking the male ego, by taking whatever is offered at his table, and manipulating to get whatever else it is that we might still need. My own story is that of being a late bloomer. I was 45. It was after my 45th birthday that I found the courage to name my truth as a woman who loves women. And in naming my truth, I was able finally to find the courage to leave a almost 20-year marriage to a man I had teenage children. I was pastor of a healthy suburban church. I had a nice house. My life had curb appeal back in the day, right? And I found the courage to say, I don't need a man. I don't want a man at my side. I'm a woman who loves women, and that's okay. What I didn't bargain on, what I didn't reckon on, what I had conveniently not been aware of, is that I had been paying homage to the patriarchy in exchange for this curbside life. And that if I stopped paying homage to the patriarchy, I would forfeit the curbside life appeal. I had spent a lifetime living the patriarchal scripts unwittingly. I was over the proverbial hill when I left the script and discovered, oh my gosh, there was a script. And not only was there a script, but there's a cost to leaving the script. There were privilege cards associated with the script. When my life shifted and there was no longer a man at my side, people said that I had changed, that I wasn't nice anymore, that I hated men. And here's what I know to be true. That was very strange, because that period of my life, that coming out period, that 5 years in my late 40s, was when I was at 12-step meetings at least once a week, sometimes daily. I was so aware of my interactions with others and grounded and calm and peaceful in a way that I haven't been before or since. This was long before Ferguson. This was before I left the church. This was before fuck was my every other word. I know that I was nice in the definition of Webster, but that I wasn't perceived as being nice anymore says that there's something else going on in this definition. I was confused by the accusation. I should have followed up and paid attention to what it meant. My mistake was assuming, albeit unconsciously, but nonetheless, truly, that the payoff for being nice, at least my understanding of nice, was that I would continue to have the goods and privileges of the life that I had had. I believed that if I could and would leave that 20-year marriage as nicely as possible, I could maintain the life that I had enjoyed. So I, for my part, actually did pretty much walk away. The ex got the house, he got the bank accounts, he got all the stuff in the house, he got the relationship with the kids. And if you fast forward a decade, he not only got all the stuff, he even got the church. He is on the church council, and my career ended. Sometimes I forget that I'm gay. Sometimes I forget that I don't have the privilege that I used to have. Sometimes I think I could still be a pastor. I could still serve a church. I could still do the things I used to do. And every time I get in that loop forgetting, I get hurt because I'm not nice anymore. And what that means is there's not a man at my side. As I sit in resentment, I realize that I have a choice. I realize every time I get this far that I have a choice. I can either spin in the resentment, which is easy to grab, or I can pay attention and learn the lessons that are mine in this place. Understand what my role is. Understand what I did and what I do and what I can learn. The narrative that is told about my ex is that he's a nice guy. And that narrative is actually kind of bolstered when it's considered that, oh my gosh, his wife left him for a woman. You know, it's like he's the perfect victim. And I, for my part, built that narrative and kept that narrative going for the entire time I was married to this man. So for nearly 2 decades, I lived in a home where there was constant verbal bullying. And I never said a word. At one point in the church that I served, a member approached me concerned about the way that he was interacting with the teens. She said that he was verbally abusive to the kids, and she was really troubled. And you know what I did? Absolutely nothing. Last summer, when Dr. Ford went public with her experiences with Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh, she unleashed for me, and I know for many American women, an avalanche of memories. As she told what had happened to her, I began to remember and grieve things that had happened to me, things that were very deeply buried. Too many memories of my ex. There were memories of his inappropriate, boundaryless behavior with me. There were memories of his braggadocious behavior about when he had been a youth leader and the way he had preyed on underage girls in his youth group. There were other memories that aren't mine to tell. And do you know, when all of that went down, when it was happening in real time, I said nothing. I said nothing. In fact, I actually married this man. Who does that? Who lets a man's foul behavior dominate their life for decades, keeps silent, allows a narrative of his perfect, blameless victimhood? In a word, a white woman. Because that's what we're trained to do. As I survey the landscape and consider my own role and complicity in all of this, what is clear to me is the damning role that greed plays. There is that self-centered greed about my place at the table, guarding my place in this family. There is the financial greed of the stuff. That's huge for most of us women. When women still earn pennies on the dollar of our male counterparts, having a man is financial security for many of us. There is a place in society that we enjoy. In my case, it was a profession even in the church that depends on this relationship with a man. And we are kept in those relationships. We are complicit in these systems because we want these goods and services. I wanted children. I wanted a church. I wanted the nice house. And in exchange, I lived with the man. Until I didn't. And then I lost all those things. But make no mistake, greed was what kept me in that relationship. The nice that white women display is not about compassion. It's not about caring about someone else's feelings or tending someone else out of some sense of concern or empathy. The nice that white women exemplify feels icy because it is. When white women stop supporting their man. When white women speak truth to power. When white women simply claim power. It is said that we are not nice. It is said that we hate men. It is said that we have changed, and all of the goods and services that we have enjoyed are revoked. But when we are rejected from the table, when we are pushed away from the table, when we are denied access to the table, whether it's because we've gotten old and we've been traded in for a trophy wife, or because we've gotten wise enough to realize we never should have married a man to begin with, or maybe we just never fit in those cis-het little boxes, right? Regardless, when we have been denied and we have that lifetime of training, we realize that the system is jacked. We realize that we have traded our power for shit that was never delivered. And we ain't got nothing. Which means we ain't got nothing to lose. Which means you're right to be afraid of us. You're right that we aren't nice anymore. You're right that we have changed. You're right. We have claimed our power. And if that means that we hate men, so be it. The point is that we are no longer controlled or controllable. There is no carrot that's going to get us in line, and that's why people are reaching for sticks. They are right to be afraid of us. They are right that we are no longer nice white women.